Good morning. Excuse me. Good morning, DeSoto ISD. This is Mr. Gallagher, fifth grade science teacher over at Cockerville Elementary. And I have been given the honor of going through your end of the semester, or as you could even call it, end of the year science project for all campuses, including my beloved home school of Cockrell Hill. So enough with me playing around. Let's get down into it here. I'm going to share my screen. And again, I hope everyone is well and hanging in there. You can see I'm burning the early morning oil this morning. Let's go ahead and jump into presentation that I have for you here. So this is the fifth grade culminating performance assessment. This information will be shared with you along with this video. Just wanted to begin by walking everybody step by step so you weren't just looking at the slides and going, well, what do they mean? That's why I'm here, okay? So here we go. All right, so as we said, this is the fifth grade culminating assignment for the science scholars that we have in DeSoto. I'm going to be taking this moment to explain to you the year-end science project and how we're going to get feedback from your teachers and how you're going to actually turn this project in. Your teachers will have the project-based learning assignments. That's what PBL stands for. They will have the project-based learning assignments located in Google Classroom or in Schoology. So now, are you ready to design a pet? As you can see down there, we have a pug bit, as I like to call it, or you can call it a rug, right? That's actually even better. I like that one, rug. Okay, a rabbit and a pug, right? Beautifully thought out design. Two animals that have characteristics that can, allow them to be within a household environment or an apartment environment, and it won't hinder their ability to, carry on. So the performance assessment itself, the culminating final project for fifth grade science, all students are expected to submit a project by May 18th. That is district-wide, not privy to one school, okay? A project must be submitted in its entirety by May 18th. Assessments will be graded according to the grade rubric provided on the Anytime, Anywhere learning page under fifth grade science performance assessment. Now, we will look into that here towards the end. So before anybody goes, whoa, time out. Okay, so wait, what are the grades? Let me get through the rest of this and I'll show you exactly what we're talking about, okay? No or low tech, not a problem. If you are viewing this video, you have low or no tech. Pick up a packet on the porch of your campus. Students with paper packets may ask their parents to email pictures of their work along with the way to receive feedback through scheduled phone calls with teachers, submitting their culminating performance assessment by phone. So please contact your school administrator for alternative acceptable ways to submit your paper packet if you do not have technology. Again, that is going to be your school administrator, okay? So whoever's handling the packets distribution, that's going to be who you need to talk to, and they will reach out to your teacher, therefore, and so on and so forth, okay? All right. So contact your teacher, how to get in touch with your teacher and get feedback. Our weeks, what will we be focused on for each week? Finished product, what will you be turning in? And then upload when and where you will turn in your project. These are the four sub areas that we're going to go into here next. So how to contact your teacher. If your teacher has provided their phone number for you, that's one way, or their email address. I know from my folks at Cockrell Hill, some of my parents have uh, will have my telephone number. Not, I didn't give it to all, of course, but it'll be one of those things. They all know one way in which they can contact me or set up a Zoom conference. So that's just going to be something that you need to do with your instructors, especially if you're on the low to no tech option. Make sure that you have a way of getting in touch with your science teacher on your campus. Everybody should have their email addresses by now, I would think. Secondly, don't forget our Zoom academic helpline hours. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, 8 to 8. There will always be someone from the school. And if you need to talk to your science professor directly, I mean, any of us can help. We all go over the same thing. But if you needed help from your director, your school administrator, check the student checklist, because right at the top it lists off everybody's hours in that student checklist that we send out each week with all of the assignments. So that can definitely help you out. And of course, as we said, Wednesday, we do not have academic helpline hours because we're also in other um, faculty meetings throughout the day. So the description of the project, here we go. The project-based learning, or PBL, will ask students to create a plan for a genetically engineered pet that is a hybrid of two existing species. Students will research inherited traits and learned behaviors and choose two animals to use as parents. They will then design the offspring, noting the traits and behaviors it exhibits. Students will then present their plan for their design a pet. Okay? Really cut and dry. Now, this is the rubric that teachers will be utilizing as we look into it. Okay? So it will show you based off, kind of where they mastered it or did they understand it? Kind of, sort of. Yeah, but we could still use a little more beefing up on that knowledge of their attempt. So acts on this first part here that we're going to look at. Okay, this one right here. Acts on creative ideas to make tangible and useful contributions to project where the innovation will occur. Okay. Now, this first one and this second one are going to be pretty much tied into one another. And I'll explain here as to what exactly I'm talking about. Views failures, that's a harsh word, but views failure as an opportunity to learn, understands that innovation is a process of small successes and frequent failures. Now, what do they mean by that? Okay, as I said, the first part and the second part kind of intertwined, okay? Because what we're talking about here in this first part is where did your student just throw out two animals, or did they really take some time to sit back and think about it, do some initial research, okay, and make their submission? That's one thing, okay, because it's going to be getting the initial two parent animals submitted and making the proper the terminology that I want to use is pitch, okay? Selling your teacher on that animal. Why did you choose those animals in particular? Okay. And also, based off of the criteria presented in the last assignments that we posted this week on for Monday, April I'm sorry, I lost what date that was. For April 27th. How does that, how does the, how do the animals actually fit? Did they follow the criteria where we stated that it has to be an animal that is, you know, it's not fictitious, right? And B, can it live in the state of Texas as a pet? So that means, can it live in a house? Can it live in an apartment? Um, is it something that you can interact with on a daily basis? Is it something that you would have the ability to feed? That kind of narrows things down because I know a lot of kids are like, oh, yeah, I want to do like a liger. Time out. Okay. You're talking about two species of parent animals that, even though I love your creativity on it, it's great. Um, that's going to be a hard one to sell because now you have to sell your teacher on how is that going to actually work as an animal that can be habitable within the state of Texas. So if you can really do a good job of selling that to your teacher and they okay it, okay, well that's, I would say that's on them. But if it were any of my students, I would have to say, okay, so what is your rationale behind this? And if a decent rationale can be provided other than, oh man, I just think it's really cool. I agree. I really do. On the other hand, you're talking about two apex predators that, you know, are only combined to make another apex predator. And as cool as it would be to have a liger, I don't think the state of Texas would allow us to have that. So I'm going to have you go back to the drawing board and present me with two more options. Now, if I had a student that came up to me and said, well, I want to use an elephant and a pig, and when I crossbreed them, you'll get tiny potbelly elephants. So they're like African elephants, except they're the same size as a potbelly pig. And I'd have to step back and go, that's brilliant. Okay. Because that would work. Even though it's an elephant, it's tiny. Okay. But you'd also have to sell me on the fact that it's not going to eat the same amount and drink the same amount of water that a normal elephant would, right? You'd have to bring that up. So there are things that initial research of each animal, each parent animal, the kids will need to do that will enhance their abilities to get through this rubric. Okay, so in, in when we're talking about that, continuously applies creative ideas to make useful contributions to the project and embraces the idea that experimenting is important to success and understands that every failed attempt is an opportunity to learn. So, in order for your students to pull the passing grade for this assignment, that is step one right there. Okay. Continually evolving their ideas and their train of thought into something instead of just being locked on. Okay. Because that's where they're going to end up with this one. Does not attempt to develop creative ideas, does not understand how failed attempts can lead to success, and gives up easily. Okay. As we are stated in our last video that we posted for April 27th, we told the students straight up, like, you're going to have to really look into each parent animal before you even submit your thought. Okay. I know for my classes, we did a kind of a test run of this just to kind of get the juices flowing. But when they see that the video on Monday, they're going to have to go back to the drawing board, which is fine because that's the best thing about science is we're gonna have failed attempts until we get to the successful aspect. So, um, we're gonna break a few eggs before we make that omelet. But It's how do they respond to that feedback. If the defeatist aspect comes out, which we really hope doesn't, then that could be something that kind of holds your student back. So tell them to have an open mind, just like teachers will have an open mind on this. But really try to utilize um, those office hours and a lot of vocal communication to get a clarification on where it is if your animal is not being approved for this project. So continually ask questions, use those office hours. And if you're looking for your teacher specifically, you may even ask to set up a Zoom conference. That way you're not just spinning your wheels and not getting a definitive answer. Okay. So to finish up this rubric here, so it's develop and implement and communicate new ideas to others effectively. I'm apologizing down here now. Develops, implements, and communicates new ideas to others effectively in a variety of conditions. That goes back to what I was talking about really trying to sell your teacher on why you chose what you chose. Okay. I know in a discussion in a Zoom classroom I had the other day, one of my kids wanted to use a polar bear and a silverback gorilla. Love the combination. Okay. But when we started thinking about habitat and how it would actually work here in the state of Texas, since we have such brutal summers and mild winters, okay, it was thinking to the point that the gorilla aspect wouldn't be such a problem, but it would be more of an issue to look at it from the bear side of things, right? And that's where you really have to think about, well, how could you sell that, right? And one example I gave that student was, I said, for me, I love tigers, I love penguins, but I couldn't use that, not because neither one would be able to adapt to the climate. I do believe that that's the case. They would be able to. I wouldn't be able to use that because, I'm using an apex predator, okay? And I didn't sell it on the fact that it would be like a penguin with tiger stripes, okay? I said it was going to be a tiger, straight up, same size, but has more of some of the attributes of the penguin. Like it's the way that a penguin's fur is, that kind of thin layer with all the oil in it to keep it warm, not a thick coat. And it would take on the penguin's coloration, okay? It would also take on attributes like the penguin's ability to swim and then hunt for food under the water, right? So as we started to talk about it, I started to realize, yeah, that kind of wouldn't work. I'd have to do a little bit more brainstorming on how I would pitch that to my teacher if I were to use that. Just because they choose that animal doesn't mean it will not work. I have to go back and verify and explain why and how it will work. And eventually you could sell your teacher on it, but you have to have good enough reasoning behind it. The last part here, effectively uses information to draw conclusions based on best evidence. So that's bouncing those ideas off your teacher, as well as using outside research effectively to come to the final product and making sure it matches all the criteria that we've given for this specific project. Okay. Now moving on. So April 27th to May 1st. This is when things kind of kick off. Okay. And this is for this first week of the big project. Here we go. So there will be a PBL entry document that we will submit to each student via STEM scopes, or it will be sent to you. And as you can see, it discusses about inherited traits and learned behaviors, pretty much talking about TEAC 5.10b. And essentially we're talking if you Your first assignment for it is if you're able to crossbreed 2 animals, what would you choose? Okay. So assignment 1 is choose 2 parent animals you would like to use for your design a pet. And remember to follow the criteria stated on this entry document. And again, this is all in STEM scopes. Um, Teachers will be assigning STEM scopes, should be assigning the PBL to you. So if you haven't received it, please notify your teacher so they can get that information to you. What you should turn in by the end of week 1, so that was May 1st, is submit to your teacher which animals you will be using so they can provide feedback. So again, just because you submit 2 animals doesn't mean you're going to be given the thumbs up. Okay, your teacher should be getting back to you within later that day or the next day as promptly as possible to give you the okay that the 2 animals you've chosen will work. So please be sure that you're communicating as early and as often and making sure that you're doing some initial research um, on those animals. So you can hopefully be one attempt and ready to move on. But even if you don't take it as it's personal. It's not. I'm trying to make you use the brain. Okay. And no, I was not pointing, even though that's a beautiful symbol. That's not what I was pointing to. Now, May 2nd, 4 through 8. I kid, by the way. What inherited traits would the new animal have? What learned behaviors would the new animal have? So at this point, you're going to identify 3 traits and 3 learned behaviors from each parent that will be represented in your offspring. What those traits are and behaviors are completely your choice. Okay, you're going to identify and describe them in a graphic organizer. So what you need to turn in is a list of those 3 inherited traits and learned behaviors from each part. Okay, so remember, if you can utilize a T-chart where you would put 1 parent animal and 1 parent animal, and then list the 3 traits, or you could do a Venn diagram: 1 parent animal, 1 parent animal, okay, and list the 3 traits, and then how those will combine with the offspring that you're looking at in your final product. Either graphic organizer will work and is a good option. It's really a personal preference at this point. Okay, so May 11th to 15th, we're getting close to the end here, okay? And let me go back real quick. I'll make sure that I didn't miss anything. Yeah, okay. Just want to double check here. Sorry about that. All right, so this is week 3. If you're able to crossbreed 2 animals, what would you choose? What inherited traits would the new animal have? What learned behaviors would the new animal have? Same question that we've posed for the last 2 weeks, right? Assignment 3. You'll create a graphic, and I apologize for the yawning. It's not because I'm bored. It's because it's 5 o'clock when I shot this video. All right. You will create the graphic that shows the parents of your offspring and outlines both the inherited traits and the learned behaviors. You need to make sure the inherited traits and learned behaviors of your offspring are well illustrated. On that artistic side, so take a moment, okay? Go slow. Really show us your best impression work, okay? And explain. And then what the turn is, make sure all of your assignments are completed for your final product, and then complete the final product. So at this point, okay, let's rehash here, okay? In week 1, which is starting on April 27th and ending on May 1st, you have time to research 2 parent animals and pitch to your teachers why those two parent animals would exist well in an apartment or home environment, okay, within the state of Texas, would be conducive and thrive in the climate that we live in, as well as would be able to be kind of a companion, meaning you can interact with them whenever you like, okay, provided you're not in school or away from home. And at the same time, that same animal, okay, um, has the ability to thrive within that environment. Okay, I'm going to show you that slide one last time here in a minute once I finish these slides, because this will just kind of help reiterate what they're expecting in week one. I'm so sorry for the morning. I'm telling you, I'm awake. Maybe I just hadn't had the morning coffee yet. All right. So week two, May 4th through 8th, you need to obtain 3 traits of your choice that would be traits that are acquired, okay, or inherited traits passed down from the parent animals, and then 3 learned behaviors that your animal would do, okay? So that is something that needs to be completed as well, either a T chart or a Venn diagram, one of the two. And then May 3rd, week 3, May 11th to 15th, you need to actually give us a rendering of what that animal would look like, okay? A drawing of what that animal would look like. So example here, this student shows a manatee and a squirrel, okay, as the parent animals. And it looks like the mantwhirl, I like that name actually, the mantwhirl would take up very similar, okay, head of a squirrel, body of a squirrel, but with the arms of a manatee and the tail of a squirrel. So it really creates, the mantwhirl would be really the world's first literal flying squirrel. Okay. But then again, this is just a rendering. So we don't know what exactly, what traits were given. I'm just trying to show you how, as a teacher, this is how I would break this picture down. But if I already knew that it was giving me, you know, like if the student said can swim underwater, can fly through the air, um, still a herbivore. Okay, well that's technically, you could say that, you know, swims in the water is one of the inherited traits, because that's what the manatee does, right? Flies through the air. Well, neither a manatee or a squirrel can fly, so you can say that's a learned behavior, right? And then from there on, you know, fur of a squirrel. Okay, that's inherited. So we're going to put that in that column, right? Both herbivores. That's another inherited, right? And then you could say for learned behaviors, um, holds its breath for, I don't know, you could say holds its breath for, hours on end, okay? Learned behavior, right? Can now, doesn't need to uh, hibernate in the wintertime. Learned behavior. Because, manatees don't necessarily hibernate. They may move to warmer waters, okay? But we know squirrels will kind of duck away for the winter. So now you could say they just move to the water for the wintertime and just kind of hide out under there in warmer water, right? So I would say that's probably a good way of saying that. Anyway, just an example. Okay. Now, final project is due May 18th. Okay. Graphic organizers for the traits and learned behaviors you turned in. I'm so sorry. Illustrations for your student and pet. Make sure you label those illustrations. Need to be turned in. And you're encouraged to be as creative as you can with your final product. So, create a PowerPoint or video. You can draw or collect pictures of your animals with the traits and behaviors that have been labeled. Organize your assignments together and take a picture. Okay. But don't just send an email to your teacher going, here you go. Let's see you really pull out all the stops for this last project of the year. Okay. We know you have other projects for other assignment or for other classes. I promise you, they'll give you just as much time as we are. Okay. So take the time to give us something good for that final project in the form of a PowerPoint or video, collection of pictures, and then submit those to your teacher by May 18th. Okay. Grades. All right. Your final grade, the culminating performance assessment will determine each student's final grade. However, we want our students, we want to support all of our scholars to earn a pass. So we're going to be here for you in every way possible to help you out with that. If you have any questions regarding our grading policy, about the specifics of our grading policy, please visit our Anytime Anywhere Learning District website. You may also reach out to your school administrators. So let me take a look at that. So again, if you go to DISD dash AAL, that'll bring you to the DeSoto Anytime Anywhere Learning page, and then simply go to how will students be assessed without grades. Okay, then we can show you everything that you can see everything in here with frequently asked questions. Or as we said, please. And then of course here is the culminating performance assessment, and it will give you what you need to know. Okay. So in fact, here is fifth grade, and when you go there, it brings up everything that we're talking about right here. Okay. And it has the math and the social studies, RLA, and science projects. So it has everything for you once you just click on that little link. Um, so as I look at this with you, okay, this is the actual project-based learning assignment. You'll either receive this in STEM scopes or you'll receive the PDFs. We'll have some PDF documents that you can also peruse, but it's the same information that we have for you. So not anything for anyone to stress about. As I stated before, please be sure that you're working diligently on this project and you're submitting your choices that you want to use for this project to your teachers in an early and timely manner. That way they can provide you with the feedback and make sure that it's something that you can get signed off on. Okay. And make sure you're giving descriptions as to why, because that is another thing that's going to be key. So if you have any further questions, please reach out to your school administrators. Specifically, also reach out to your teachers. Okay. And we will get you any clarification that you need to make sure that you understand the full scope of this project. But remember, it's broken up by the weeks. All right. So starting next Monday, you'll be given your first set of tasks to do. Then the following week, you'll be given another set. And then by that time, you should be getting ready to finish everything up and make your final presentation of your new offspring from your 2 animals that you crossbred. And on May 18th, that should be turned in. And again, if you have any questions, please reach out to school administrators or your teacher so we can get you those answers. But at this time, I hope everybody is well. I hope everybody is safe. Um, I know I missed my fifth graders at Cockrell Hill, and I hope everybody is ready to finish the year on a strong point. So this is Mr. Gallagher from Cockrell Hill saying stay safe and see you next time.